Hey guys, BJ the Brave here, back with, well, some Warpforge content and a little bit of a channel update I wanted to do for you guys today. I've had a lot of people like messaging me and reaching out and stuff because the channel's been a little bit quieter, and yeah, it's been a bit of a weird time because I've been away basically on I've had a couple of holidays, had a family holiday, and then had a holiday with some friends. So I've really not played like a whole ton of Warpforge, and obviously slowed down the content. So I wanted to kind of give a little bit of an update, kind of where I'm at, and also talk a little bit just about my opinions on some of the things that have happened, which in terms of the Eldar release, and obviously we had the bounce patch as well, because I'm aware that I've not done any content around those things, so people are asking me what do I think. So I'll try and bring you guys up to speed on that as well. So yeah, as I say, I've been out and about, and I've been kind of still playing, but playing a lot like through my phone and like not playing as intensely and things like that. Most of you probably know, like last season, I put a lot of time into, particularly into a lot of like beginner content as the game went into full access. So hopefully some of you got to see some of that and enjoyed it. One of the things that was quite fun, changing up cadence, was actually starting a new account, and I went on a run to see how long it would take me to reach legendary. So all that stuff's on the channel if you want to go and see it. I think one of the things that is worth saying is that it's pretty intense like last month for me, from a kind of behind the scenes content creation point of view. I've got a lot going on with like work, and most of you probably know I've got a family and things like that. So it was pretty time consuming. I had a lot of fun with it, but that kind of schedule is not really sustainable. So I think it's fair to say that going forward, my release schedule is not going to be as crazy as it was last month. So you should expect sort of slightly fewer videos from me. They're not going to be sort of coming out every day, but I'm not going to kind of like say I tend to operate on waves of enthusiasm. So I'm not going to kind of like say anything like either way. You'll probably still have bursts where I do release a video every day for a week, but I do think there'll be a slightly slower stream of content from me. Obviously we had the Eldar came out, and when it first came out I wasn't very impressed with the reinforcement drop, to be honest. A lot of people were asking me. I didn't really play the raid. I have now got the Jane Czar and the legendary card as well, which I got from the shop a couple of days ago. But in terms of the actual initial release, I wasn't really that impressed with it. I don't think that when you looked at the Anvia meta deck, I didn't think that many of those new cards really made it into the meta. So there were some nice ideas in there, but I didn't think they were that good. But then we've had a balance patch, and it's kind of changed a lot of things. So I guess the best way to do it is to just give a bit of an update on the balance patch, and then I'll kind of dive back into a little bit about where I think Eldar are now, having had the release and the patch. Alright, so the balance patch, obviously we got some changes to the ultramarines, and I've noticed that a few players in the Chinese team got some pretty decent scores with ultramarines for this stage of the season. So I'm pretty sure that there probably is a deck that's better. I haven't actually tried anything since this. I mean, things like the war veteran help. These are all like sensible things. Like the more what I call like little tweaks. I'm really happy about the warsuit. I'd quite like to try the Invicta warsuit, because I remember playing with that quite a bit when it came out, and I remember thinking, man, this card would be so different if its ability triggered, even if it was killed. Like if you attack, it does its thing. I think that's a really good change. I really like that. I actually think the land speeder is going to be much better now, and also I think the Predator Annihilator probably becomes the best of the two sort of 7-drop deal damage. It's this and the Storm Talon, isn't it? They're both pretty good, but I think the Annihilator is probably a bit better now. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Overall, though, I don't necessarily think that these changes are going to kind of like propel the ultramarines into any sort of like, you know, tier 1 stratosphere at all. Although I think it'll be interesting. I definitely want to have a play and see what I can come up with based on these changes. Now the next one to talk about is the Goth Orkz. Now the Goth Orkz, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Godre. Like this guy, man. This guy went from being like OP to useless, and now I think it's OP again, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is absolutely bonkers. Now I've got to say, like, this is the kind of OP I like, and the reason I say that is the game had become very tempo heavy. And I think they actually addressed that right at the start, right? They kind of like said that the top strategies were pushed by talents that constantly pressured their opponent against the wall. Yeah, and I think that's true. Like, it was very much like a sort of tempo meta. And what this kind of does, this huge chopper change, is it really brings back control Orkz in a big way. In a big way, guys. Because when you think about Ghazghkull, like, this guy actually has more health than Ghazghkull now. It's hard. I mean, to be fair, it's hard to evaluate that because you are going to be attacking more with him because you're going to use that big 4 melee to remove, and you're also not putting out a grot each turn. And so, how do you calculate the health benefit when you know, when your opponent's having to hit a grot rather than hitting face every turn? So obviously that can be calculated to a degree, and it's close. But anyway, either way, I think that this guy's like health is comparable now to Ghazghkull. On top of that, he's got an amazing axe for removing, and I think the other thing is that, like, obviously once you've put the armor on this guy, like this heal for everything, it's just amazing. Like, imagine a mirror match. Your opponent plays the 3 grots down, the Vanguard, and it's immediately +3 health you can get there. They play Makari as well, that's +4 health, you know, so huge chopper, like, is a huge deal. Huge deal. I think this puts Godre into tier 1. I'm definitely predicting this season that control Orkz are going to be tier 1. I think it's super powerful, and like I say, it's I think it's probably a bit OP, if I'm honest. But it's a kind of OP that I'm personally happy about, because we didn't really have any control decks that were viable, and yeah, now we do again. So I'm personally quite happy that control is viable, and I've already been fatiguing people on ladder. So yeah, really cool. Looking forward to playing some Orkz this season. I'm going to come back to Simhan last. So Rahatas, okay, so the biggest thing there is they've just updated Erica, continuing with this theme with how they are balancing the Sisters of Battle, which is to give different levels of abilities by according to the amount of faith generated. So what they've basically done here is it's exactly the same talent, but they've added stun the target for 5F. That's really good. I quite liked Erica's ability anyway, but I think this is very good. Am I going to play Erica this season? God. I still think Junith might be better. Just because some of the broken cards are things like Beacon of Faith and stuff like that, and those cards obviously benefit from having bodies down on board. So I don't know, but this is definitely making Erica a really interesting option for sure. Galaron is also pretty interesting. Like, essentially what this is now doing is when enemy with vulnerable dies heal 1. This just basically means that Galaron can kind of go later game now, and the change that they made to his ability was very much making it more of a kind of control type of lord, right? With being able to make units vulnerable. That speaks to kind of being able to remove stuff. But obviously, to play that kind of late game thing, you've got to be able to heal, and Abaddon can heal himself for 2 with the ability. So this kind of like, yeah, this heal mechanic really does push Galaron now in terms of as a control lord, and I think that's kind of I've seen that the Ecclesiarch did like a sort of mid-range combo deck, and definitely go and check that out if you've not watched that video. It's pretty cool. But I think I'd be kind of keen to see what a more control heavy build looks like. Alright, the big thing they've done with their Gene Stealers is everybody was asking for this. Everybody was asking for this. I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Like, I don't know if it... Yeah. I think overwhelmingly people thought this was a problem. I'm not sure I personally did much, but I think everybody quite consistently thought this was a problem. So they have gone ahead and said that, look, you get the flexibility of being able to draw a card still from your card pool. That's still strong. You just no longer get the -1. So yeah, that's the change. I think that's going to make us NAS just a little bit more fair. I still think it's a really good deck. I just think it's going to be a little bit more fair now. So the Astra Militarum. Now, similarly, obviously they want to get rid of this ability of discounting things, so they've made Ursula Creeds no longer reduced by 1. They've already got rid of the legendary cards out of the pool. I feel like this is like... I feel like this maybe makes Ursula not that good now, to be honest. I mean, the best thing about Ursula anyway was the duty that she gets. I mean, yeah, I feel like this is... you know, Ursula's not bad, for sure, but I think she's going to be quite mid-tier now with that change. Now, changes that are somewhat disappointing to me are the tanks. So what they did, which was unique with Astra Militarum, is that they did push the late game units, which is something I've been advocating for a long time. Most of the late game units in this game are just dead cards, and they went ahead and made 2 of the best in the Rogel Dawn and the Baneblade, but they've already been nerfed after only being out a few weeks. And yeah, I'm not happy about that. I get why they've done it, but it's more the mechanic of getting Siege Warfare out for cheap from an Astropath, which then allows you to draw 2 cards, 2 tanks from your deck. Well, if you only play these 2 tanks, 2 copies each, or 4 tanks in your deck, then like getting basically a Baneblade and a Rogel Dawn out on E8 is broken, right? Is the fix to that problem to nerf these tanks? Like, was playing Baneblade on 10E for 10E a problem? No, it wasn't. So I'm not sure they've fixed the problem in the right way, and the reason why this doesn't feel good for me is that, like, now I can't honestly say that playing a Baneblade just as a 10E tank is a good unit anymore, which is really sad, because they've kind of done that finally, and it feels like we've sort of gone backwards now. Like I say, I get why they've done it. I get what the problem was. I just think that the fix they've gone for is a disappointing route. So yeah. And a High Fleet Leviathan, they've gone ahead and made the stealth units a bit less effective. Just in the last few seasons, I think that the stealth Swarmlord builds were really powerful and were leading some pretty high win rates, and they were able to finish the game very quick. So by just bringing those down a notch in their kind of melee attack, that might hopefully slow things down. Although I have to say the Lictor one's weird, because everyone's just going to now switch to the Von Ryan, which still will do 5 damage. So that's a strange one. But yeah, the Death Leaper obviously coming in at 6 now instead of 7. I still think the stealth version is viable. It's just a tiny bit less power coming out each turn. I think the bigger thing here is the Neuraloid, though. The Neuraloid going from 0 to 1 is huge, and the health is increased from 2 to 3, so it's more likely to stick around. The enemy Warlord can't just kill it. But yeah, not sure about the Neuraloid. I mean, it was really powerful, right? Essentially just made your stratagems, you know, affect 2 to 3 units for free. So maybe that does make sense. Maybe that just makes sense. But yeah, I still expect Tyranids to be very powerful and not too major there. All right, let's get back then to Simhan. Now, very weird this one because Jane Czar's been out all of what 2 weeks, if that, and it's already received a buff to the Warlord. So that says to me they just kind of fundamentally didn't get the design quite right on Jane Czar. So what they've added is when an enemy receives a stun, deal 2 damage to it. Alright, so the talent hasn't changed. They've just added this. It's basically just, she just gained a new ability. So obviously the stun thing wasn't doing a lot. And I agree, I don't think the stun thing was doing a lot. And obviously they wanted this to be like the stun warlord. And I think that this very much does make it now a viable strategy. This is pretty insane, guys. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you think about everything that stuns. Let's take a quick look at some of this. So, if we just take a look at like an Eldar deck, if we just take a look at Eldar, right? Like, even just cards like, where's this one here? This 2-drop one. But nobody ever played. Like this card here. This now just becomes like a 2... This card becomes insane, right? Because for 2 energy, this becomes a deal 4 damage. It's even better than deal 4 damage, because if something's got a shield, I believe, for example, that it'll do 2, which will ping the shield, and then it'll do a separate a lot of 2 damage, which will actually do damage. So there's that advantage. But you're getting 4 damage for 2. Oh, and if it's big enough to survive that, it's then stunned. Well, I mean, that's just completely transformed that card. Of course, in the late game, then this card can benefit from flank. So, I mean, this is a really decent card now. Really decent. I think things like one of my favourites, the Fire and Fade, pretty cool now because you can kind of like basically get more value out of your stuns. Like, you play that on something like a Howling Banshee, right? Playing like double Banshee for 7 or over 2 different turns, and each time it stuns, it's now dealing 2 damage. I mean, the Banshee was already... I just did a thing about my most OP cards, and this was one that was really on the verge. Really, really on the verge. And I'm like, now it does 2 damage every time it stuns? I mean, this card is bonkers now. Absolutely bonkers. What else we got? Obviously, we got one of the new cards that we got this in this thing was Hornet, and I think Hornet was okay. I really liked the fast ability, although you pay quite a bit for it in the 3 stones, but I didn't feel like, I don't know, I felt like maybe one of was okay in something like an Anvia deck, but I mean, in this stun deck, this is pretty good now, because this stun deck's going to put a lot... This stun deck is very aggro, right? It's going to beat down your opponent very quick. And so the Hornet really plays into that style and that strategy. And even just things like the old... What's the old 3-drop? Yeah, the Banshee Mask, right? Dealing 3 damage. Stun, obviously. That means it's now doing 5 damage. I mean, think about the ultramarine metas that we've had, where people just death from above, they hold double death from above to win the game. Well, with the Eldar now, you've got like Banshee Masks, you've got double Banshee Mask, Wailing Doom. I mean, the reach from hand is going to be absolutely insane. It makes me think that this season for the mirror matches, it might be worth playing a copy of Evasive Maneuver, just to stop all this sort of damage coming back on face. Of course, though, this doesn't help you against Jane Czar's Warlord ability, right? Because that just doesn't have to target a unit, so the camouflage doesn't help. And then, of course, we've got the new legendary card. Where is it? Here we are. Urilla. Again, Urilla wasn't that impressive to me when I was looking at it. Although now, this is a great card in terms of like the top end of... Well, the Wailing Doom is the very top end, but the top end, a troop, I think, for a Jane Czar deck. I think Urilla works pretty well. She comes down. She's got the, you know, the decent body flying and concussive and everything. But even just playing this sometimes and then using, like, say you get to E10 or whatever, you play this, you play a Banshee Mask. You know, the Banshee Mask does 3. This does an extra 3, that's 6. And then Jane Zara's ability is another 2, that's 8. That's just from one stun card. It's 1. So Urilla really sets up. I mean, anyone who can take the deck deep, I mean, you could do some really big kind of combo to finish the game out as well. So yeah. So overall, I think what we're going to see, guys, is I think that the game is going to be the meta is going to be different for sure. I think we're going to see. I'm not sure whether ultramarines can feature. I still think that sisters are okay. I still think that the Genestealer cults are okay, and I still think Astra Militarum is okay. I think it's going to be interesting to see what prevails as the dominant Astra Militarum. Interestingly, the Rogel Dawn and Baneblade thing is still quite good if you play the Siege Warfare deck, which is the thing that made it broken and needed fixing. In many ways, they've not actually fixed that problem. Still playing Siege Warfare on 8 and getting one of each of those is still powerful. So they've kind of fixed the wrong problem with that. Maybe that will be the predominant deck. Maybe a Denkler. Maybe some other Denkler version. I'm not sure. But I think all those can compete. But I really do think that the Goth Orkz control and the Stun Eldar are going to be the 2 tier 1 decks. With a couple that are kind of hot on the heels, but I think they're going to be the tier 1 decks, certainly in the first half of the season, until the meta adapts and people start looking at new things. But yeah, talking to some of the guys on my alliance, we're very kind of like we seem to be on a kind of agreement that they're the 2 obvious kind of like power decks that have come out this bounce patch. So yeah, there we go, guys. Overall, I think we're looking at a very different season compared to last season. Different meta. It's going to be interesting to redefine some of these decks. I will be probably doing a little bit of streaming, and I might do a couple of deck guides as well. Although I'm kind of conscious that, like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see, because I'm kind of conscious that, like, I've done so many Orc control decks now, and they won't be significantly different. It'll just be that it's Godre that's basically at the head of it. But let me know if you want me to still do that as a deck guide, or maybe I just kind of like stream games with it. I'm not sure. So yeah, I shall be back soon with some more content. Like and subscribe, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.